Welcome to our podcast, She's Bridging the Gap, where we're on a mission to bridge the gap through conversations that inspire change and build lives, businesses, and healthier minds. I'm Sam D, and I'm a certified nutrition coach and personal trainer.
I'm Hannah Harvey, and I'm a business coach and strategist.
And I'm Kendra Garrett, a mindset and accountability coach. In this podcast, we're going to bring you the tools you need to bridge the gap between your health, wealth, and relationships.
Hey, and welcome back. In today's episode, we are going to be hearing a little bit more about Sam D, the one and only, and her story.
We're so excited, and thank you, Sam, for going first and telling us your story and just telling us a little bit about yourself. So yeah, if you just want to tell us a little bit about how your journey has been to get to this point right now, and kind of tell us a little bit of your background of where you started and what made you want to transition into coaching and where you're at today.
Yeah. So like we said in our last podcast, I started in 2019. I started my business as an Instagram manager. I was coming from the medical field. I was working as a certified medical assistant for 7 years. And I had my second son who was home at the time with me, but I was working a 9-to-5 job from home where I had to be on the phone and with a 1-year-old. Trying to make phone calls and keep him happy and busy was not very feasible. So I quit my job on my birthday in 2019 and
Happy
went
birthday
all
to
in.
you.
Yeah, I went all in on my business. I thought I wanted to do Instagram management, but very quickly realized that was not what I wanted to do. And when Reels came out on Instagram, I fell into video editing. So from there, it blossomed into YouTube management and strategy, which I still do and I still love. But over the past year in early 2021, I had gained a lot of weight and I fell into the most unhealthy state that I have ever been in my entire life. And it was actually when we were all at Free Mama Live back in March, and when I saw a picture of me in front of the stage and realized the state of my health. I remember how I felt in that picture. I just didn't want anybody to see me. I was hot, but I had a sweater on because I didn't want my arms to be exposed because of how big they have gotten. And I just, at that moment, I realized I had to do something. And I went to my doctor for something else, but kind of talked to her about how I couldn't lose weight. I was doing everything that I've done in the past and nothing was really working for me anymore. And I just did not feel good. So she did some blood work and it came back that I was insulin resistance, which is actually a form of prediabetes. So I had eaten myself into this state. For my family to not have any history of diabetes or anything like that, it was a little bit odd for me to have this in my blood work. So I decided that I had to make a change and had to figure something out. So my doctor kind of talked me through, like, you have to eat a little less carbs. You don't have to go keto, but you have to get this in check before it turns into type 2 diabetes. So that's what I did. I did start working with a nutrition and health coach myself for a little while, and that kind of got me jump started into losing weight. I ended up losing 30 pounds.
Let's just take a pause here and seriously congratulate you for
Thank you.
For how you, I mean, you look great. I know you feel great. I think Hannah can probably say the same of the mental growth and emotional confidence that you have had over this last year. Which I'm sure there's a lot of things that can attribute to that, but I mean, I think we can confidently say that we've seen so much amazing personal growth in you, due to the work that you've put in. So
thank you for recognizing that.
Absolutely. And I think like the word that that pops into my head, like as you're talking about your journey, is just like courage. Like you had the courage to change, then you had the courage to change again. And then you had like the courage and the bravery to say like, wow, my health is headed in the wrong direction. I have to change things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely annoying when that happens. It's definitely not something that is easy to come to terms with when you have to admit to yourself that you have let your health go that far and you don't know how to fuel your body anymore. So after I lost the weight, I realized that the reason I didn't keep working with my nutrition coach was because she didn't come from the same thing that I was coming from. She had a 9-to-5 job. While she had her own weight battles and things like that, she didn't have similar struggles that I did. So, and when I say that, I mean like things like eating yourself into a pre-diabetic state. So I wanted to do something in order to help other women like me who are raising kids and working from home and running a business and trying to do all of the things while also fueling our bodies right and making sure we get enough water and getting movement in. It's so hard to figure that out. So I went and got my nutrition certification and my personal trainer certification so that I can start helping other women that are in the same position that I was in or in a similar position, and they don't have to feel like they're getting advice from somebody who is just naturally thin and never had to deal with things like that.
Thank you for sharing all of it. First off, I didn't realize that you started out as an Instagram manager. So I really assumed, YouTube is what I knew you for. But that's awesome to kind of hear a little bit more of the backstory. But one question I would say that I want to ask is, what is one thing that you would say to someone on how to start just one step forward? Is it, making that like coming to terms with the acknowledgement that something needs to change? And then like, what is that very first thing that you did? Like, I know you mentioned nutritionist and, you saw your picture on the stage and all of that, but like, what is the very first like actionable item that you did that you would recommend others do as well?
I think the first thing that actually set things into motion was admitting I had this issue and asking somebody for help. Like, I couldn't do it on my own. I had to have somebody be like, this is how you have to start. This is what you have to do. And this is how you have to keep it going. So I think a lot of us, we don't want to ask for help, whether it's pride or you don't have somebody to ask for help. That's why this podcast is here. But you really, when you admit that you have the problem and you talk to the people, your support system and things like that, and let them know how you're feeling and what you want, what your end goal is, people want to help you. And that will get you motivated to actually make the necessary changes that you need to make to get healthier.
Something else that I was thinking, like, as you were talking was like, it was like the difference between having someone who's supporting you, who's like worked the 9-to-5, and someone who like is running, like currently has their own business. And so like the difference between like experiences, because I know like the very first time that I had ever like gotten myself down to a weight that I was comfortable in was when I was working like 70 hours a week. Pretty easy, because all I had to do was in the morning when I had the resolve was just pack my lunchbox with things that were good for me, and then not spend any money on anything else because I was super frugal at the time. So like it was simpler when I was working a 9-to-5 to like maintain a certain weight. But like as I became a stay-at-home mom or started my own business and then became a mom, like things drastically changed. So when it comes to your approach to like being a coach, how do you help people in those different realms where they're like at home all day and they need more support because it's not like they can lock their kitchen up, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because it is like there's so much ease that comes with not having to go to a 9-to-5 or answer to somebody higher up than you. Like being your own boss is definitely easier in some aspects, but it's also a change when it comes to your eating habits because you're home all day. And if you have kids, you have the kids snacks, and you have all of those easy to grab things that are not necessarily the best choice.
Not the best choice, but they're
So-
the easiest thing to grab.
Yeah, so those are the easiest things to grab when you're busy and you're working and going from call to call and getting all your stuff done. So the main thing that I like to work with my clients with when I'm first starting out is getting rid of the guilt of grabbing a kid's snack that you might want at that time. There's so much guilt around doing things like that and having a, I don't know, Rice Krispie treat really quick as you walk by the pantry. There's nothing wrong with that. You wanted to have it, you had it, and that's fine. We're going to move on with our day. But a lot of women that I've worked with that are working from home, they have a lot of shame and guilt associated with the food that they're eating as they're walking by the pantry, like the Rice Krispie treat. And then they'll go on, it'll snowball, and they'll be like, well, I already had that Rice Krispie treat, so I might as well have this bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which is my kryptonite. But once you switch your mindset around and you're like, oh, I can actually eat this and not be guilty and not have to eat everything else that's in the pantry too, and then just go on with my day and have my regular meals throughout the day. And so that is always the first thing that I work on with my clients, is the mindset and the guilt.
And I think that just thinking about how, like you said in the beginning, where like you're on a mission to like get rid of the toxic diet culture. And I know that like a part of the toxic diet culture is like that all or nothing mentality. And I think it's really awesome that like that's the first thing that you tackle, throwing that out the window along with all the guilt that comes along. I mean, moms don't need any more guilt attached
Right.
to their
Exactly.
daily life.
And I can so relate to that too, of like where if I have one little thing and I'm trying to eat healthy or whatever, then it's just like, all right, like I already run the day or the week or whatever, I'm just gonna spiral and whatever, I'll start next week. And
Yeah.
it just happens. It's a brutal cycle of it all, really.
It really is, yeah. And I think that I'll tell my Kit Kat story. So that's something that really helped me realize that I don't have to be so restrictive or punish myself for eating something. When I was working with my nutrition coach, I would tell her, like, I feel like I can't have these certain things. Like, I love candy, I love chocolate. And she told me, like, what's the one thing that you really want to have? And I was like, I want to have a Kit Kat. So she said, have the Kit Kat. So I had incorporated a Kit Kat every day for 1 week. That was my habit. And I lost weight that week and I felt good. And I didn't have any brain fog, and I was still good because I was still getting the necessary nutrients that I needed in my body. But I was also treating myself with a Kit Kat, and I no longer feel guilty about doing that.
Oh my goodness. Yay for the Kit Kat.
Yeah.
I love that, where you can actually plan to have something that way you don't feel that all or nothing. It's like, no, like I can give myself that. I love
Yeah.
that story.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And shameless plug for Sam over on her YouTube channel, but she does all like talking about different diets. They're not great. And I think they're always just fun to like, I don't know, dive into like the little cons of all these diets. And she did one recently on WW, which was a program that I had done many times over the last several years. And it's just, I don't know, it's fun to see her knock out all the toxicity from them.
Just
Not needing to hear it because we're on February 8th and a lot of those New Year's goals and stuff, like, so that's
Right.
awesome, just to say, don't beat yourself up about it. Take these tips into action where you're not having guilt around those things, but still
Yeah.
able to move forward and have your Kit Kat and lose weight. That's
Yeah,
what your goal is. Like, that's
exactly. Yeah. Nothing comes from the guilt.
Say it again.
Sam, is there any last piece of advice or anything that you would like to give the audience today?
Yeah. So to build off of our tip from last week with drinking water, I want to give you another habit that you can incorporate, and that is including a Kit Kat a day or whatever your treat is every day. And I'm not saying eat a whole snack-sized bag of Kit Kats. That will probably leave you feeling really yucky and probably have a stomach ache. But incorporate something that you associate with food guilt. So whether it's maybe you like brownies or maybe you like pasta, have that in your day somewhere every day for the next week while still getting your other necessary nutrition in, and just start to get rid of that food guilt by doing this. Just enjoy your treat and let us know in the comments how that makes you feel next week.
I love that. Best tip to end with ever. So.
Right. Oh my goodness. So thank you, Sam, for sharing more about your story and going first, like Kendra said. If you guys want to connect with Sam, she's on YouTube and on Instagram, on @thesamd. You can just type that into the search bar and she will pop up with all her awesome branding. So that's all that we have for you guys today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying what you're seeing, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See you next week.
Bye.
You can find our podcast, She's Bridging the Gap, on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and on YouTube if you want to watch the live video chat.
You can subscribe to our channel now so you don't miss a single episode.
And we're so excited to start helping you build your bridge.